Hi folks, my perspective here. We're going to have a look at a video clip of a fellow in space, and he's playing ping pong with a water bubble, and we're going to analyze this.
So I've got a little bubble there, and that bubble of water is going to float away, but I also have with me two bats, which are just like table tennis bats, except these bats are hydrophobic, which means they resist the water, so the water doesn't stick to them. They're like non-sticky bats, which means that you can actually play space ping pong. There you go, we can have games on a Saturday.
So they want you to believe that I have a water bubble, right? The water bubble's in space, it's weightless. If I hit it with a bat, the water bubble will bounce around like a ball. So, in fact, the properties of water, because it's in space, will change. Well, that's not real. You see, if I hit the bubble with a bat, it'll react the same way as on Earth. The only difference is it's supposed to be weightless. The properties of the water won't change. So this is just cheap entertainment. It's not real. Look, there's a bigger issue. I have a man who's floating in space, right? And there's a water bubble. So you'd say, yeah, well, that looks fine. To illustrate the point, if I had to place this man in a giant trash can, right? What will happen with the trash can? Well, you say, well, the trash can will float, and the man will float, and the water bubble will float. And if I make the trash can as big as the room, right? Now what's wrong? Well, the room he's in should also be floating. How can the room be locked down to gravity, yet the man inside the room and the water bubble is floating in space? You see, the International Space Station is the trash can. The International Space Station is hooked onto the Earth's gravity, but inside that there's a man and a water bubble floating, and at the same time this trash can is orbiting the Earth many times every day at a phenomenal speed. Yet inside this trash can, as it spins around the Earth, locked into the Earth's gravity, right, the man and the water bubble is floating. Well, you know, and common sense tells you that that trash can will smack into the man and the water bubble, continually force them if they're floating. And at the same time, the Earth and this trash can is moving through space at over 100,000 kilometers an hour. And yet, inside that trash can, that man and his water bubble can float around. Do you understand that this is simply not possible? It's just cheap, nasty entertainment. To illustrate the point, I've got this scale, right? If the text questioning is the scale is gravity, and I've got a trash can, and I spin this scale around, the text, gravity, will hold the trash can on to the scale itself, the center stand, and as I spin the scale around, the banana inside the trash can actually float around in space, in three-dimensional space, unaffected by the motion of the scale. Now, if I showed you this and I said, well, you know, this is an experiment, you'd say, well, it's rubbish. It's not real. It's smoke and mirrors. And you'd be right. There's no difference between this and the fellow in space. So you don't have days in space because you travel around the earth and the sun rises and sets every day.
So I've got a little bubble
So
there.
this is not real.
And that bubble of water is going to float away. But I also have with me 2 bats, which are just like table tennis bats, except these bats are hydrophobic, which means they resist the water, so the water doesn't stick to them. They're like non-sticky bats, which means that you can actually play space ping pong. There you go. We can have games on a Saturday and play space ping.
Cheers and thanks for watching.